Homage to fundamental teacher Buddha Shakyamuni, homage to wisdom warrior Manjushri, homage to all lineage benevolent masters. The Dharma, infinitely profound and subtle, is rarely encountered even in 1,000,000 eons. Now we are able to hear, study, and follow it. May we fully realize Tathagata's true meaning, in order to liberate all sentient beings from samsara, generate supreme bodhicitta. Next we'll discuss the words of my perfect teacher. Now we're teaching the results of the 10 negative actions. Among the results of the 10 negative actions, we're teaching the karmic effects similar to the cause. Within the karmic effects similar to the cause, among the 10 negative actions, the karmic effects similar to the cause for killing beings and taking what is not given have been completed. Today we begin teaching the karmic effects similar to the cause of sexual misconduct, the karmic effects similar to the cause of sexual misconduct. Actually, nowadays, whether husband or wife, the family members they find for themselves are ugly in appearance or unwilling to work, often indolent and lazy. Both parties are like irreconcilable enemies. This way, relationships are all bad. At the beginning, it seems like the person you love, if they're absent for one day, it's like losing a wish-fulfilling jewel, causing physical and mental unease. Later, living together, eventually at a certain point they become like enemies. Whenever they leave, the heart feels very happy and comfortable. Actually, Buddha spoke of this in the Flower Ornament Sutra. There are two types of karmic effects similar to the cause for sexual misconduct. One is an unfaithful spouse, and the other is family members not following one's wishes, these two karmic results. Nowadays, most relationships between spouses are filled with endless quarreling and bickering all day long, even resorting to violence and harboring resentment. They often believe that the main cause of marital discord is what? The other person's bad character, believing they are irresponsible toward family members, the household, and their workplace. Bad character, inferior moral conduct, also feeling they have no conscience or sincerity toward oneself, always thinking this way. This is what everyone in the world might clearly understand. Many householders' lives are filled with quarreling and bickering all day, particularly painful. Especially nowadays, people's living arrangements are not like ancient times with scattered dwellings. Nowadays, most people live in high-rise buildings. Many say when spouses quarrel, starting quarrels at midnight, crying, fighting, smashing things. Those above can't sleep. Those below can't sleep either. Neighboring households keep hearing crying, calls for help, mutual quarreling, smashing of objects. This way, it brings unrest to the entire society. This is a characteristic of society. What are the causes? On one hand, they truly don't understand Buddhism's concept of cause and effect. On the other hand, nowadays from childhood, whether toward family or parents, education in filial piety is particularly lacking, and so forth, various causes and conditions creating this. Nowadays, many family disharmonies bring various kinds of suffering. Actually, these matters are completely caused by each person's karmic effects similar to the cause from past sexual misconduct. Many people believe that in this life he's irresponsible, in this life he treats her badly, always pushing all the causes and conditions onto others, never considering themselves. There's a particularly famous star from China that I know I won't mention names here. Basically, she's acted particularly well in many Chinese films. Everyone likes this kind of star. She said that through studying Buddhism, especially after reading the words of my perfect teacher, previously she believed that among their colleagues, or many things that happened in her own family, she thought were unfair to her. But later, after reading these books, she completely felt it wasn't just others who were wrong. She should realize that she herself had many faults and causes. Therefore, her entire worldview and her own life underwent a new change. She believes there was a new change. So I think many of us haven't studied Buddhism. If we truly study Buddhism, Buddhism brings countless things that are meaningful for our lives, our human existence, our hearts. Meaningful things. It's very regrettable that so many people in the world don't understand Buddhist teachings, completely relying on external material things and external living conditions for satisfaction. Obtaining happiness from this is extremely difficult. Therefore, between spouses, don't harbor anger or become greatly enraged. you should properly recognize that this is the karmic result of your own past negative actions. Try your best to bear it patiently, just as Venerable Padampa also said. So in our worldly existence, indeed, family concepts and family harmony are actually very important. If families have a harmonious atmosphere, many people's moods will change and become happy. This way, the things they accomplish will also be meaningful. Otherwise, fundamentally, from the family level. For example, if a school principal quarrels with family members every day, if he quarrels every day, the principal's mood will definitely be bad, if his mood is bad when he meets with teachers or interacts with teachers. Certainly, except for individuals who might have special spiritual realization, basically there won't be good communication. If he doesn't have good communication, each teacher's mood will also be directly affected. If the teacher's moods are affected, then this emotion is also brought into the classroom and students in each class will also be affected. This way, two people's quarrel results in so many people being affected. This is a natural law. This is a simple school. By the same principle, any department, organization, or collective in the world, one person's mood indeed has a great effect on their surroundings. We're not talking about leaders, just an ordinary person. For example, if I'm a simple person, a very ordinary person, if I'm in a bad mood today and quarrel with others, probably the people sitting around me, the people I interact with, will all be directly or indirectly affected. So many of us should truly contemplate Buddhist truths. So Venerable Padampa also said spouses are impermanent, like marketplace customers. Don't engage in harsh words and quarrels. People of Dingri, Venerable Padampa has about 100 teachings saying, people of Dingri, in these teachings, he says that worldly spouses, actually, the time they spend together is short and impermanent, just like two customers who meet in the marketplace. They interact briefly, have a brief gathering, then each goes their separate way. By the same principle, although in people's lives and traditions, it seems like they make vows and oaths to stay together until death. But these kinds of vows often fail. Some make vows today and separate tomorrow. Nowadays in society, this phenomenon is very common. Some, although not that short, aren't necessarily very long-term either. Therefore, as householders, it's best not to quarrel frequently at home. Once they quarrel, truly, I see householders, quarreling is very pitiful. Two people quarrel, children below are crying, elderly above are crying. Don't quarrel, saying don't quarrel is useless. Before the anger in their hearts subsides, they quarrel over small things. There are no major issues. It's impossible to quarrel over national affairs for matters of liberation. You develop Arhat mind, I develop Mahayana Bodhicitta. So we too quarrel over issues of motivation. This won't happen. It's only over particularly small, trivial matters that they quarrel. Quarreling is like an indispensable part of many householders' lives. A while ago, one of our academy's teachers went to our hometown and told the local people, "Those who don't quarrel, raise your hands. Those whose families don't quarrel." No one dared raise their hand. "Those who vow not to quarrel in the future, raise your hands." Nobody would later. I heard that one person raised their hand. People nearby were quietly saying, it's impossible for him. Their family quarrels every day, it's impossible. Later, this teacher really had no choice. Since none of you vow not to quarrel, then those who will definitely quarrel in the future, raise your hands. And all the people went, wow. So the teachings for the people of Dingri, to truly put them into practice now, has certain difficulties, but regardless, everyone should know these principles are very important. After we studied The Way of the Bodhisattva and the words of my perfect teacher, many people who don't believe in Buddhism told me they're very grateful. Our family members quarrel much less from then on. Not saying they don't quarrel at all. Not quarreling at all is basically non-existent. But from then on we understand and tolerate each other. Actually, this is very important. Buddhists don't necessarily all have to be monastics, don't necessarily all have to divorce. There's no such requirement. But you should have family harmony. This is a main component of society. If studying Buddhism, one should also have a pure mind. Everyone should have an understanding that whether it's positive or negative connections, since you've gathered together, there are karmic causes and conditions. Some are negative connections. Truly, each other are irreconcilable enemies who previously killed each other. In this life, they become husband and wife, formed through negative connections. This also exists. Some are formed through positive connections. previously making aspirations together life after life. This is also possible no matter what kind of karmic connections, but when gathered together, it's best to understand each other. This way, it will also help your own practice in the future. This is teaching the karmic effects similar to the cause of sexual misconduct. Many people in current society don't understand this principle. They only acknowledge this lifetime and only acknowledge others' mistakes, never considering that they themselves have faults. This is one part of the content. Next, we'll discuss the karmic effects similar to the cause of lying among the 10 negative actions. The karmic effects similar to the cause of lying is that oneself often encounters slander from others or is deceived. The flower ornament. Sutra also teaches that lying also has two kinds of karmic results in the human realm. One is receiving much slander, and the other is being deceived by people. Often being deceived by others for no reason, even when going to a store to buy something. Some people with karmic consequences manifesting are often deceived. This is also a kind of karmic result from previously deceiving others. If now oneself suffers undeserved injustice for no reason, or wrongly encounters slander and so forth, understand that this is the karmic result of speaking falsely in previous lives. It's not completely believing this is others' harm. Why would they slander you for no reason? Why would you often be wronged or deceived for no reason? This is the karmic result of speaking falsely in the past. In summary, people who speak falsely are always encountering some adversities. Others also often treat them, including some good friends, either deceiving them or abandoning them, as it seems to be taught in the Sutra of the Right Mindfulness of Dharma. If a person speaks false words, that person quickly becomes despised. Abandoned by virtuous people, the devas do not protect them. Those people who speak falsely, whether their reputation, status, or many possessions, gradually will encounter some adversities. Moreover, people also often abandon them. Devas, asuras, and dharma protectors also often don't care for them and stay away from them. So indeed, speaking truthful words is very important among all people. Therefore, we shouldn't hate deeply or curse those who spread rumors and create trouble. Rather, try as much as possible to visualize that relying on this turmoil can purify my accumulated negative karma. Speaking this way, their kindness toward me is truly not insignificant. From this, be filled with joyful feelings, so when receiving some slander from others, some rumors from others at that time, not only should we not retaliate, but we should also visualize through his criticism, through his false slander against me. It should purify my own previous lives throughout all lifetimes, spreading rumors about others, slandering others, speaking falsely, and so forth. Countless boundless faults are thereby purified. Moreover, through his unreasonable judgment or slander against me, my practice is enhanced. From another perspective, his kindness toward me is very great. I should think this way, especially those whose practice is somewhat better. When receiving criticism from others, they don't consider it a matter at all. If one's practice is not very good, when receiving even a small slander, they might not be able to bear it and keep crying, "I've never done such a thing. What is this person really doing? Let me go. I want to give him a severe beating. I've never stolen anything. He says I stole things. Wah, wah, wah. Why is it like this? Oh my God." Rigzin Jigme Lingpa, the Venerable of Wisdom and Compassion, said, "Enemy's opposition also makes practice increase. Being falsely accused without guilt spurs virtue. This is the Guru who destroys attachment. Know that their kindness cannot be repaid." The meaning just explained, Venerable Jigme Lingpa also said, "When hateful enemies begin to oppose you and disparage you, through their disparagement, you practice patience. Naturally, your realm of practicing virtue increases more and more. Indeed, some people after receiving slander from others. Naturally, through this kind of contemplation, some achieve enlightenment, some enhance their practice realm. Without any wrongdoing, others begin to frame you and wrong you. Through this, you feel that nothing in this world is reliable. Look at your best friend, someone you treated so well. Today they begin to create such obstacles for me for no reason. So, indeed, nothing in this world is reliable. Naturally, you're encouraged in practicing virtue. So these are actually for destroying our attachment to worldly glory, wealth, reputation, and status, the best spiritual friends, the best root gurus, no different from root gurus, therefore we can never repay their kindness. Those whose practice is relatively good will think this way. They will consider, when we encounter people in the world who disparage and slander you, this is a particularly rare opportunity. In summary, when we ourselves receive such criticism in this life, we should transform it into the path. There's no need to hate them, but in our own speech now, or in the process of conversing with others, we must definitely eliminate lying. Otherwise, lifetime after lifetime, your life will be unhappy. If you eliminate lying and cultivate virtue, this is most excellent among people. So in the Buddhist sutras it is also said, truth is the first virtue, lying the first evil. Abandoning faults and cultivating virtue, such a person excels among people. We abandon faults and accept virtue. People should all understand cause and effect. So if one can truly understand cause and effect, whatever you speak in the future, speak truthfully, don't speak falsely. Actually, if a person speaks falsely, if a person deceives others, they will forever be suspected. Once bitten by a snake, 10 years afraid of well ropes. There are various sayings. Your one lie, being deceived by others once, then they always think, this person deceived me before. Could they be deceiving me this time too? So for a person, truthfulness is most important. When we taught the way of living, we discussed honesty. Everyone also understands that actually when a person is very truthful, this way, whether for liberation or for this life's living, there are very great benefits. This is teaching about lying, then sowing discord, the karmic effects similar to the cause of sowing discord. Family members and servants are incompatible with each other, or the master is attacked, etc. The flower ornament sutra teaches that the karmic results of sowing discord also have two types. First, obtaining bad retinue. The retinue he obtains are all very bad followers. Second, what he obtains is retinue who are mutually disharmonious. These two karmic results are taught. For example, some guru's disciples, officials' attendants, household employees, etc. Most people internally are mutually disharmonious, and no matter how much the guru or master tries to persuade them, they don't listen. Instead, they argue back. Nowadays, in some collectives, some monasteries, some organizations, no matter how the guru advises them, those below start fighting and quarreling, constantly disharmonious all day long. Some enterprises, some schools, all kinds of organizations. If their leader has created very serious karma, then the people below can never find peace, constantly at war. This kind of situation is actually very unhappy. I've seen some monasteries and some collectives. Truly, the abbot or main leader suffers particularly. The people below don't listen at all. In this case, your leadership serves no purpose. No matter how many times you speak, they resist you even more fiercely. Such collectives, truly, it would be better if they disbanded earlier, but they can neither disband nor unite properly. They exist in that state of quarreling and particularly painful conditions. This kind of situation is also quite common. Generally speaking, household employees. When the master assigns them to do a simple little task, but even after speaking 2 or 3 times, they still turn a deaf ear until the master becomes angry and scolds them sternly. Only then do these people slowly or very unwillingly, in a particularly unwilling emotional state, basically do these things reluctantly. After finishing task, they don't report the results to the master. They don't say a word. It's always like this. It seems the people below are particularly reluctant to do things. Even if they reluctantly do a little on the surface, just going through the motions, but actually they don't say a word about having done this task, giving the master a simple report. Their character is consistently very bad. What is the reason for this? These are all the master's own previous life sowing discord, the karmic results ripening upon him. This way, he himself is also unhappy, and wherever he is reborn, groups are always disharmonious, as it seems to be taught in the Sutra of the Right Mindfulness of Dharma. Whoever speaks with a forked tongue is not praised by good people. Their birthplace is always lowly, born in evil places. The birthplace is particularly bad. The environment is very bad. The atmosphere of this collective is bad. Long-term rebirth in such harsh environments. This is also whether as a master or as the head of a household. If he himself previously used divisive speech, then no matter how many people are under him, there's always no way, I feel, through our Guru Rinpoche's blessings. Previously at the academy, including our study groups, the fourfold assembly within should be very good in terms of major cooperation. Over all these years, we've never encountered problems that were truly impossible to solve. Although there are some small conflicts, these are unavoidable. This place is not the pure land of great bliss either. If all people were first-level bodhisattvas or above, they would just smile at each other, all practicing patience. That would be very good. But since we here are not like that, there are certainly some resistance and conflicts. These are unavoidable. But overall, situations where so many people can't be resolved, such phenomena have never appeared. I believe many teachers among us here, as well as some lay practitioners, hope that in the future process of studying and working together with everyone, understanding others and everyone's harmony is very important. For people studying Mahayana Buddhism, if you don't even have the ability to communicate between people, then I'm afraid truly practicing patience is impossible to speak of. So I think people studying Mahayana Buddhism in this society should never have their behavior revolving around selfishness, but rather understanding others, being tolerant of others, forgiving others. With this kind of mindset, even if others make mistakes, you will forgive them. This is what our society truly needs. Actually, the philosophy of Mahayana Buddhism is crucially important for today's society. Recently I met some Korean people. Their Goryeo Tripitaka already has 1,000 years of history. There will be commemorations of this special day. But from this, they also want to understand what role the Tripitaka plays in human society, and I received some interviews. Speaking from my heart, Buddha's Tripitaka is truly the only wish-fulfilling jewel in this society. Why do I say this? Think about it. In Chinese Buddhism, just a few individual sutras, for example, the Diamond Sutra, Amitabha Sutra, or Heart Sutra, Shurangama Sutra, etc. Just a few individual sutras can influence how many people. They influence how many people's worldviews and values. So if all the contents of the Tripitaka, if in this world people study them, people comprehend them, and moreover practice them, what kind of significance this would have, everyone should understand. So nowadays in Tibet, there are indeed, whether Westerners or Easterners, many people come here to explore and study Tibetan culture. What is the reason? Because Tibet has particularly complete research and transmission of the Tripitaka. So many people have also gained real benefits from it. It should be like this. So we now in this society, although there are various kinds of works, all kinds of books are particularly numerous, but among them, humanity's only treasure, I believe, is Buddha's words. Because Buddha's language, Buddha's entire spirit from 2,500 years ago. At that time there was no audio nor today's video. These were all absent, only these written words now. These written words have remained intact and complete in this world. So partial contents of the Tripitaka, a social group, a family, any person, if they understand partial contents, they gain happiness. Happiness is what humanity seeks. This happiness is not material happiness, but spiritual happiness. So we don't need to drink all the rivers. Drinking part of the water from rivers will quench our thirst. This is an analogy taught in the water tree treatises. Therefore, studying such Dharma nowadays is very important, so one should generate regret for the negative karma one has created. Strive to resolve resentment between oneself and others. On one hand, confess the wrongdoing of divisive speech one created before. On the other hand, in the future, do one's utmost when seeing even two people quarreling. When two people have somewhat poor relations, one should mediate, not now. I hear that some individual teachers in schools are very bad. When they see two students fighting, they're very happy. Hey, that looks good, keep fighting. The teacher just watches the show. There are such cases. So, such homeroom teachers are very bad. When two students fight, you should break up the fight and explain the faults of fighting, forbid fighting. Now I hear there are such cases in some individual places. Teachers particularly love watching students fight. He deliberately incites two students who are somewhat stronger. Creating discord, let's see who wins when you fight. This phenomenon is very bad. So what should we do? Even when two people are quarreling, mediate to resolve such resentment. This is very important. Third, the third among verbal actions, the karmic effects similar to the cause of harsh speech, frequently hearing unpleasant words, and one's own speech also becomes the source of arguments. The Flower Ornament Sutra also teaches that harsh speech has two kinds of karmic results. First, frequently hearing unpleasant words. What you don't want to hear, you frequently hear by your ear. Others speak of your faults, all words that make your heart particularly uncomfortable. You frequently hear. Second, the words you speak unknowingly become causes of arguments. People who previously spoke harshly, originally they spoke with good intentions, but once they speak, it becomes a cause of arguments among people. This is the karmic result of harsh speech. In summary, harsh speech among all negative actions has extremely serious karmic consequences. For example, in the world, there are also such sayings. Although words don't have particularly sharp blades, words can also pierce into human hearts. We also mentioned before, it seems China also has such sayings. Kind words warm for 3 winters, harsh speech hurts people with 6 months of cold. Speaking one harsh sentence harms many people. Sharp blades cutting the body heal easily. Harsh speech hurting people creates lasting resentment. If you cut someone's body with a knife, through treatment, the wounds can heal. But if you use harsh words to wound others' hearts, they might be unable to heal for a very long time, especially people whose practice realization is somewhat poor. You can teach them instructions for 100 days and they can't remember even one verse. But if you criticize them once for about 10 minutes, they remember it forever. Their memory is particularly good for this. So worldly people generally think to themselves, my heart is already broken, already cracked, now it's ruined. Your criticism, your one sentence has completely broken my heart. So when criticizing some women, if you're not careful, some women's hearts are very strange. Originally you didn't criticize her, but she thinks, criticizing me, I'm finished. Wow, the sky is falling, the earth is cracking, the entire world has become completely turned upside down. There's no hope, only leaving. Wawa. This is a special feeling. Actually, the sky hasn't fallen. The sky is originally unconditioned phenomena. It can't possibly fall, and the earth can't possibly crack either. There's no earthquake appearing. How could the earth crack? But they feel that, wow, what was just said was so hurtful. What was that sentence just said? Wow, this one sentence has completely broken my heart. And I won't say more, just joking. So I generally don't dare to criticize women. Always praising, always praising. Praising Buddha, celestial praises. Hearts are very fragile. These are all kinds of conceptual thoughts. Truly, some hurtful words might indeed have an effect, but ordinary words might have a psychological effect on oneself. Here it also teaches speaking harsh words will make the other person suddenly generate anger, especially towards serious objects like gurus and noble beings. Even saying just one word or sentence of harsh speech can create bitter consequences of being unable to be liberated from lower realms for many lifetimes. This is very serious, especially when we speak to others, using harsh words to curse people, using harsh speech to wound, especially giving nicknames to speak of others' faults, is extremely unreasonable. Here it gives an example. Actually, this example is a case from the Mulasarvasti Vada Vinaya, previously in Vaishal. There was a festival at that time. 500 fishermen caught a particularly large fish. This fish was called a Makara fish. This Makara fish was particularly strange. It had 18 heads, including human heads, horse heads, elephant heads, ox heads, and so forth. 18 heads. Moreover, each head had 2 eyes, 36 eyes in total. What was this like? At that time, everyone talked about it. It was particularly rare. Buddha, at that time, brought all the monks together to this place. Through Buddha's blessing, this fish was able to recall its previous lives and tell its own experiences. At this time, this fish began to speak when human lifespan was 20,000 years during the time of Buddha Kashyapa. He was the son of a non-Buddhist Brahmin. The Brahmin father was very famous in this country at that time. Moreover, he was thoroughly proficient in all learning and debate. At that time, this father raised this son. He was called Kapila after he grew up when his father was about to leave the world. The father gave his son a last testament. He said, after you grow up, you must never debate with Buddha's Shravaka, Pratyeka Buddha, Bodhisattva disciples. If you debate with them, you will definitely lose. It's impossible to win. Besides this, you can debate with other Brahmins and worldly people. After he said this, he left the world. After leaving the world, once the king held a great debate competition. In the process of this competition, Kapila had already won. At that time, he also obtained the title passed down by his father. His mother particularly wanted her son to inherit his father's position because his father was very famous throughout the country. The king also particularly valued him. At this time, the mother constantly demanded that the child still go to Buddhism to debate with Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas. The son also tentatively went to some Buddhist communities to debate, but indeed, as his father said, he couldn't win in debate. The wisdom of Buddha's Shravaka and Pratyeka Buddha disciples far exceeded worldly knowledge, so he had no confidence. But later his mother constantly demanded that for the sake of debate, he go to the Buddhist community to ordain. His ordination was false. After ordaining, on the surface, he also studied. After studying, basically, he was proficient in the Tripitaka, in text and words. He had mastered the teachings, but mainly hadn't realized the practice because wrong views still existed in his mind stream. But later, in the process of debate, he kept remembering his father's words and didn't dare to debate. Later, his mother constantly demanded. His mother worried about his position. Then she told him to debate and gave him an idea. If you really can't win in debate, you can give all the monks below bad nicknames. Horse mouth, ox mouth, human mouth, giving such bad nicknames, cursing people with harsh words. If you curse people with harsh words, they won't dare to speak up. This is the only way. He was quite filial to his mother. Then, in the process of debate, he began to curse people one by one, saying, "You're like a lion's mouth, what mouth?" and so forth. The monks below all stopped speaking. Of course, generally speaking, when someone with a particularly bad temper stands up, wise people all remain silent, watching to see what he will say. After some people who love to curse others stand up, they just wait for him to finish speaking. Wise people are like this everywhere. At that time, no one responded, thinking he had won the debate. His mother was very happy. After returning home, she demanded he disrobe, because originally he hadn't truly ordained. She told him to disrobe. Now you've won the debate, you can inherit your father's position. Later, he himself had stayed in the Buddhist monastery for a very long time, and had also received education for a very long time, so he didn't want to disrobe. Moreover, he himself felt that cursing people with harsh words among the monastic community would definitely have very serious karmic results. So he confessed among the monks. He also made a vow never to encounter people as evil as his mother in lifetime after lifetime. He made this vow. Later, under Buddha Shakyamuni's teachings, he became this fish. Our Guru Rinpoche also often taught this story before. Also, I heard that His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok's Guru Thubga Rinpoche also often taught this story, requiring all his retinue and disciples not to give others bad nicknames. At our academy, when Guru Rinpoche taught the Sutra of 100 Actions before, at that time, I remember Guru particularly hoped there would be many people when teaching the Sutra of 100 Actions. But at that time, many teachers and some people happened to go out. Probably many people thought teaching the Sutra of 100 Actions is all stories, nothing difficult to understand. When teaching Tantric Dharma, people would gather. Later, Guru appeared very unhappy. This time, when I'm teaching the Sutra of 100 Actions, I very much hope the more people come the better. But many teachers all went out with various excuses. This feels very unreasonable. So in the future, I hope everyone must pay attention to harsh speech and cursing. Otherwise, the karmic results are indeed very serious. Furthermore, there was a nun who called other nuns female dogs. As a result, she was reborn as a female dog for 500 lifetimes. Actually, this story should be in the Sutra of 100 Actions in A Female Dog. It also says there was once a female dog. What was its previous life? It should also be during Buddha Kashyapa's time. There was a nun who, after ordaining, taught Dharma very well, and her income was also particularly abundant. Later, she offered these received donations and wealth to some nuns, and also offered to some monks. Once this nun had urgent business and asked these nuns for help, but none of them came. They thought it would delay some virtuous activities, so they didn't go to help. At that time she was unhappy and said, "When enjoying wealth, you often come when I need you to work. You don't come. You're just like female dogs," using such harsh words to curse people. Later, for 500 lifetimes, she herself was reborn as a female dog, very pitifully, so usually when we call others female dogs or animals, or speak of others' defects, like calling them blind, fatty. When we taught the aspiration to be reborn in the pure realm of Sukhavati, we also taught everyone now, in lay practitioner groups and monastic communities, you must never, even if you see others have some physical defects, there's no need to use those to address them. If you address them that way, they themselves feel very inferior. In our school, there's a child whose eyes are not good. Others often use some bad words to refer to him. He himself feels particularly inferior among all the people, particularly feeling as if living in this world has no meaning. When talking with many people, he feels his life is very pitiful. So when we see some people who are not physically attractive, we must never use their defects as substitutes for their names. We even often say, didn't I teach this a while ago? When seeing some sick people, seeing some people whose bodies are a bit haggard, with more wrinkles on their faces, or some people whose hair has turned white, some people deliberately point this out. "Ah, you look so ugly. Ah, your hair is so white. Oh no, it's over. Ah, you have so many wrinkles on your face. It's over. You have no hope now." They must point out when a person has even a little. Originally, a person has many virtues and some dignified aspects. These they don't mention. They must point out a person's. This way, some people are particularly attached to their bodies. Suddenly they think, everyone sees that I'm so old. This becomes very painful. Actually, according to true Mahayana Buddhist teachings, protecting others' hearts is very important. While protecting others' hearts, our language with them should try not to use harsh speech. If someone doesn't speak harshly, then people are all happy to see them. I think it's taught in the Sutra of accepting the 10 good karmas as precepts. If one can avoid harsh speech, this is called a great man, an upright person among people. All are happy to see. People who speak truthfully among people, very upright people who like to speak gentle words. Such people among people are also very happy to see. Some people are eloquent and particularly love to speak of others' faults. People don't dare approach them. Once they approach them, they either speak of your shortcomings or speak of your faults. Basically, they never have words of praise. Some people are truly like this. When speaking of faults, they're particularly good at it. They use all kinds of words. When speaking of virtues, they don't speak. They maintain noble silence. So we should usually speak harmoniously and gently. This is very important. What's particularly worth emphasizing, because we fundamentally don't know where noble beings and bodhisattvas reside. We should naturally maintain pure perception toward all sentient beings and speak in praise of others' virtues. If we truly slander a bodhisattva or wound them with harsh speech, that's more serious than the sin of killing all beings in the 3 realms. So Karma Jigme Rinpoche also said in the aspiration to be reborn in the pure realm of Sukhavati, the sin of slandering bodhisattvas is heavier than killing beings of the 3 realms. I confess and reveal unintentional sins. This already teaches that, especially in our daily life, we fundamentally can't tell who are bodhisattvas and who are ordinary people. Superficially, bodhisattvas also appear as ordinary people. They get sick, have suffering, eat, walk exactly the same as people. Look at some undercover police in the world now, mixed among crowds. You can't tell at all. They disguise themselves particularly well. For example, if he goes to a group to attend teachings, he appears even more diligent than monastics, truly concentrated. You can't tell at all. This is an undercover police manifestation. Actually, he's deliberately disguised. By the same principle, bodhisattvas also can't be distinguished among ordinary people. Indeed, some great masters I've also taught before about a Chan master in front of others. He seemed to beg for alms and do many things. People at that time didn't understand. Especially he would paint anything for money. Later, when he went to a place, some people deliberately teased and humiliated him, saying, "Can you paint on women's skirts for us?" He said, yes, as long as you give me more money, I can paint. People often spoke of him this way, but later, actually, this Chan master had two reasons. One was that disasters appeared locally. To help them, there was another reason his guru required him to build some temples beneficial to beings. For these two matters, he paid any price in front of the crowd. All slander against him didn't matter. Later he left a verse. Painting tigers and painting skin is hard to paint bones. Painting people and painting faces is hard to paint hearts. He left such a verse and then went into seclusion. Only then did people discover, oh, he was very remarkable. He truly lived for the Dharma or for sentient beings. So in our world there are some, including ordinary, particularly common and plain people's behavior, if you disparage them. They might truly be manifestations of Manjushri Bodhisattva or Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva or manifestations of some Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. It's hard to say. We can't tell from people's speech. On the surface, people's appearance also can't be discerned. Now, many people think, oh, a particularly fat person must be a great accomplished master. Now, in some places in China, there are also such views. So in some places, to make their bodies appear fatter, they eat all kinds of things. There are also such sayings, but these are not necessarily true. Our scriptures don't say that only particularly fat people are bodhisattvas. If this were really the case, then old pigs would also be manifestations of all bodhisattvas. In summary, we should try to maintain pure perception toward all people. This is very important. If we maintain pure perception toward all, there will be no wrongdoing. But in the eyes of many of us ordinary people, it's not like this. Everyone except oneself is bad, this one is no good, that one is no good. This is the characteristic of us ordinary people. This also easily creates harsh speech and slander. All these meaningless wrongdoings should be confessed. Next, we'll discuss the karmic effects similar to the cause of worthless chatter. One's words have no power, no weight, and poor eloquence. Clearly speaking frankly and directly, but others don't believe it to be true. When speaking in public gatherings, one also feels weak in presence. This also has two karmic results. One is that one's words have no credibility and one lacks courage. Generally speaking, worthless chatter has these karmic results. Therefore, in our daily speech, can we still speak some meaningful things about scriptures and benefiting sentient beings? Constantly meaningless, endless talk has no true value. So the Buddhist sutras also teach, view worthless chatter as a knife, always stay far away. Speaking worthless chatter is like a sharp knife, harming both self and others without meaning. Always practice right speech. Such a person is born in the good path. We should often speak truthful language, meaningful words, related to liberation, related to life and death, with some significance. This way, this person can be born in good realms. Otherwise, the karmic results of worthless chatter are also very serious. The karmic effects similar to the cause of greed. Everything cannot go as one wishes, often contrary to expectations, encountering displeasure. The karmic results of greed are very numerous, mainly often not satisfactory. Because if the mind is very greedy, one can never attain happiness. The Sutra of the Right Mindfulness of Dharma also teaches many desires are like great evil sores, if born in the heart. Because of that person's greed, day and night they find no happiness. What does this mean? Greed is like a great evil sore. If this evil sore grows in your heart, then because of greed, day and night you won't be happy, whether greedy for people or greedy for money. People with greed can't sleep well, and their daytime life is also very painful. If one is greedy, even if all resources rain down daily, it's impossible to be happy, as taught in the Madhyama Agama. Though heavenly wonderful treasures rain down, the desirous are never satisfied. Desires bring suffering without happiness. The wise should know this. What does this mean? If gold, silver, and treasures rain down from heaven, then greedy people will not be satisfied. So knowing the suffering of sense pleasures, there is no happiness, then the wise, the intelligent should understand. Many people in the world don't understand. Every day they desperately seek wealth. This is also their karmic result. So we should try to live contentedly with few desires. The karmic effects similar to the cause of malice, often fearful and anxious, dangers everywhere. Often worried about receiving various kinds of harm. So the scriptures also teach the mind is the first enemy. This enemy is the most evil. This kind of resentful mind that harms others, is the most evil in the world. Conversely, the mind of patience, as taught in the Sutra of the Great Assembly, patience is supreme in the world. Patience is the path of peace. Patience is the best in the world. Patience is the most joyful path in the world. Therefore, always dwell in the path of peace, the path of patience. The karmic results of wrong views, the karmic effects similar to the cause of wrong views. Often falling into wrong views, constantly being deceived and having one's mind disturbed. Wrong views. On one hand, those who previously had wrong views have wrong views in this life. Also because of their wrong views, their mind stream is constantly disturbed, very painful. Actually, people who generate wrong views, people who created negative karma in past lives, people without merit easily generate wrong views. Generally, people with merit, good fortune, and virtuous roots don't easily generate wrong views in this life. Some people here have pretty good merit in this life. Generating right views is easy to arise. For example, whether right view of cause and effect or right view of emptiness. After studying just 1 or 2 treatises, the foundation is immediately established. But people without sufficient merit, truly, no matter how many treatises they study, how many gurus they rely on, still no good, still crying, and tears flowing constantly. The Lotus Sutra teaches people of little virtue and few merits are oppressed by various sufferings. People with shallow merit and virtue are oppressed by all kinds of suffering. Enter the dense forest of wrong views. Entering the dense forest of wrong views, they are often in suffering. Today the body is not well. Today life is not well. This person bullies me. That person's relationship is not good. Anyway, every day they are oppressed by some kind of suffering. At the same time, the Guru speaks incorrectly, Dharma friends speak incorrectly. This is also wrong. That is also, even Buddha spoke incorrectly. Previously, there was person with wrong views who said, if Buddha Shakyamuni were here, I would very much like to debate with him. Very ridiculous. Truly, people with wrong views even want to debate with Buddha, not to mention other people. So such people are those with shallow merit. This is the karmic effect similar to the cause of wrong views. We pray that lifetime after lifetime we don't have wrong views, don't have greed, don't have malice. The 3 particularly frightening mental afflictions should be eliminated as much as possible. Even if we can't eliminate them from the seed level, now we should know their faults. Try to cultivate their opposites. Non-greed, non-hatred, non-wrong views. That is, in terms of right views, try to study, contemplate and practice. Good, let's stop here.
Jigme Phuntsok